Penetrating an enemy defensive position often requires hours of planning and a combined arms assault. In this video, we have two companies of T-34s supported with infantry and SU-152 tank destroyers. The tank destroyers are armed with 152mm cannons, while the T-34s are armed with 72.62mm cannons and a 7.62 Coxile machine gun that is ideal for suppressing any infantry that on the defensive position. The infantry will move forward of the tanks, destroying anything that lays in their way, suppressing any anti-tank defenses, allowing our T-34s to move into position to launch their assault. As our T-34s move up during this combined arms assault, we're going to see 152mm shells fall on the German defensive position, driving them out of their foxholes and back into the village. As you can see, the Germans begin engaging our T-34s. They are armed with panzers and tank destroyers. We are a light company of T-34 tanks, and we are attempting to overrun them with a massive assault that is perfect for this type of operation. Commonly done on the Eastern Front was an attempt to outnumber and outmaneuver the Soviet forces. The T-34s will continue to move up supporting our infantry. As you can see, there's enemy technicals moving in the foreground. Our artillery still isn't on station yet, but we're going to be dropping 45 rounds of 152mm. Our T-34s will begin engaging the German tanks and suppressing any Soviet or German infantry that moves into position. Launching this assault under smoke cover, the T-34s can easily gain the advantage. Unfortunately, part of war is crossing open fields, something we don't typically want to do. We want to drive the enemy out, either into out of their fortified positions. We don't want to engage units in these fields because it's just going to turn into a meat grinder to who has the most firepower and who has the most men. The T-34s continue to move up blind as the German tanks begin to suppress them and destroy their friends. As you can see, the panzers begin popping smoke, providing cover in an attempt to stop this massive assault. Around 30-40 tanks are moving onto this position. The T-34s, covered in dust and smoke, continue to start engaging. Shells begin to fly. Those 76mm cannons are going to penetrate that German armor and easily destroy these tanks. Machine gun fire is going to come from the town. Hopefully the artillery strike arrives before the tanks get into position. Because of the artillery strike, we don't want to cause any sort of fratricide in this position. The tanks continue to thunder across the open plains. Our infantry continue on the eastern flank to rout and gain a foothold into the town. This town's been tasked as a strategic objective. It's going to allow our forces to, one, reinforce, relax, and recuperate. But in order to do that, we need to secure it. A massive assault is underway, and we're attempting to outmaneuver the German forces. Attempting to identify them, the 152mm artillery begins to fall. Our tanks continue to kick up dust, obscuring any vision and hiding them, and what is a fantastic display of strategy and maneuverability. They continue to storm past that German tank that looks like it's been completely immobilized and destroyed. The hatches are open and the infantry have bailed out. The smoke launchers did not do anything to assist them. The T-34s have identified the first gun trucks in the town and begin to neutralize them, overwhelming any force that comes into their sight. The T-34s are lightning, quick, light tanks designed for this sort of combat. A German technical begins to come out of the village. Hopefully this T-34 sees it. Maybe we can see an exchange of fire. Penetrating this defensive line is going to require a massive combined arms assault. We can see machine gun firing bouncing off the angled corners. The T-34s begin returning fire to the enemy technical, throwing smoke to obscure themselves. Too close, the 76mm cannon may be ineffective. Rounds begin to fire, vehicles begin to burn, and the T-34s knocking over telephone poles. The infantry have bailed, and the T-34s continue to assault. Once in the town, they're going to hold this line and allow the infantry to move into position, destroying anything that they lay their eyes on. Driving these forces out, securing this position, and smoking any position. Germans continue to burn, and there's the gun trucks trying to get into position to launch their assault. Unfortunately, they're walking into a trap. Brave, but foolish. The German gun trucks are going to be quite easily destroyed. Armed with cannons, the T-34s. Light tanks, unfortunately, can easily be destroyed. Well within their engagement range on the outskirts of the village, continue to engage the German gun trucks. We go up, we can see a small overview of the battlefield. The German gun truck attempting to get into position to return fire. Machine gun fire is raining down, the T-34 staging outside the village for their second assault. Smoke continues to obscure. It looks like the Soviet forces have identified a small contingent of Germans. Laying down, quite already destroyed and easily taken care of. The Germans begin returning some fire. The T-34 is holding strong. Smoke blows in the wind. The second set of T-34s fighting across the battlefield as the gun trucks continue to expose themselves. On the village, we can see all the panzers quite easily destroyed. There's one still active that just takes around. And just like that, German technicals and artillery forces are easily being destroyed by our anti-tanks. Under heavy fire, they're returning fire to the flanks of our T-34s. And this is one of the downsides to conducting a penetrating operation. Is if you push too far forward, you're going to see that your opponent's going to get on your flank, and you need to make sure you have a force behind you. Our Su-152s are exactly that. They continue to move up, but it looks like they were quite possibly destroyed by the German panzers. The infantry continues to fight across the battlefield out in the open. Smoke, cover, and fire litter the battlefield. Bullets fly, 7.62 rounds, as the Germans attempt to push out and stop this assault. The last bastion of defense, the Soviets are going to have to go room to room, house to house, and clear everything that's in their way. The T-34s continue to man the flanks, rotating and suppressing and destroying everything that's in their way. The 7.62 millimeter cannon, or 76.2 millimeter cannons, destroying anything in their path, armed with high explosive anti-tank, and armor-penetrating rounds. The battlefield's almost secure. They're mopping up the last remnants of what looks to be a German force. Continuing to lay waste, using high explosive rounds, destroying anything that's in their path. T-34 is retreating, pulling back, hoping to get line of sight on any German vehicles. The town basically destroyed in the beginning. The Germans are using anything they can for cover, attempting to fall back, seek a more fortified position. Once the front line's penetrated, we can easily continue to ferry forces in. As you can see, machine gun fire, the 7.62 cannons are doing exactly what they're designed to do. Destroy anything and mow down all the infantry. The artillery begins to fall. Our assault was too fast, a miscalculation. Fratricides bound to ensue, and those 150 millimeter cannons are going to quite easily destroy our T-34s. 45 rounds are going to fall, destroying any villages destroying the villages and town. Anything that stands in their way is basically done. The German tanks were quite easily neutralized, and this is what's tactically challenging about conducting a penetration operation. You need to probe the line, find the weak spot, and then launch your assault in that position, amassing forces without notifying the enemy that you're setting up for a maneuver. That's why we launched over on our eastern flank a small infantry assault, to obscure our massive tank operation we were about to pull, and to confuse the enemy. As you can see, we're now in the city. All vehicles are destroyed, smoke is obscure, and artillery strike is laying waste to anything inside the town. An effective combat operation pulled off quite skillfully, mopping up any Germans that are left with their 7.62 or their cannons. The town's now secure. Minimal damage was ensued. A couple T-34s are lost. But all in all, we can continue our operation, sweep the town, go door to door, clearing and destroying every building or anyone who stands in our way. The Soviet T-34 is a fantastic light tank and perfect for conducting large operations. And this is how you conduct a tactically and strategic penetration. As you can see, we've fought our way across an open field, infantry gunning, supported with both heavy tank destroyers and Soviet light T-34s. Easily destroyed a small German mechanized force and pushed our way into the village. Artillery fell, destroyed anything in its path, and now we have a foothold. We can conduct urban combat in our next video. But if you like the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Head on over to the Patreon for free after action reports. I actually just uploaded a new one. I know this is a little late. And join the community tab for after video discussions. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you like storytelling or if you just like tactics. Peace out, guys.